It's very important here to keep in mind that hacking is an evolving concept. Your endocrine system and your nervous system together is the operating software. You can continue to expand your cognition and your intelligence throughout your life. It's a concept known as neuroplasticity. हमें अपने बॉडी के सॉफ्टवेयर को हैक करना है या हार्डवेयर को हैक करना है. एक ग्रुप ऑफ हार्मोन्स है जिसको कहते हैं न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स. आजकल इसकी बहुत चर्चा हो रही है. हर मार्केटिंग गुरु डोपामिन की बात कर रहा है. डोपामिन इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर रिवॉर्ड एंड प्लेजर. सेरोटोनिन ये एक ऐसा न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर है जो आपको एक फीलिंग ऑफ हैप्पीनेस, स्टेबिलिटी, कामनेस देता है. नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड extremely important for neuroplasticity. These monoamine neurotransmitters are dopamine, norepinephrine and epinephrine. Special attention to these three because these are three of the most hackable neurotransmitters. Tyrosine to L-dopa, L-dopa to dopamine, dopamine to norepinephrine, norepinephrine to epinephrine. When you're looking at hacking for longevity, you're primarily going to look at cell preservation, peak performance. In peak performance, you will work with those systems which can help you think better or physically perform better. Or microbiome is a kind of a universe in itself. Or if I can manipulate neurotransmission, if I've got a set point for dopamine production, one of the simplest food-based nootropic I know of are MCTs. And these ketones are an excellent source of fuel for your brain. Hi guys, this is Samit. I'm the founder and CEO of New Life. I've spent the last 20 years studying, researching and applying the science of nutraceuticals and dietary supplements as it relates to the human body and in improving human performance. And through this series, I want to share my learnings and my findings with you so that you can hopefully avoid some of the same mistakes which I have made. The topic for today is biohacking. A very spoken about and hot topic amongst today's fitness elite. Let's get into this topic. Let's understand what is biohacking. Let's define biohacking. Let's also understand what biohacking is not. We'll get into the biochemistry and physiology of the body and how you can hack some systems whereas others you cannot. And ultimately we'll close with some proven and effective strategies to achieve biohacking. So let's get started. First, let's define biohacking. Biohacking is essentially hacking your biology. आपकी जो बॉडी की बायोलॉजी है उसको आप फाइन ट्यून या किसी तरीके से इम्प्रोवाइज कर सकते हैं जिसमें जो उसके नॉर्मल प्रोसेसेस हैं आप उसके बियॉन्ड जा सकते हैं. नाउ इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट हियर टू कीप इन माइंड दैट हैकिंग इज एन इवॉल्विंग कॉन्सेप्ट. What constitutes hacking today may not be called a hack tomorrow. Because एक बार जो चीज़ कॉमन प्लेस हो गई, जो कि हमारे सिस्टम का एक पार्ट हो गया, तो उसको आप हैकिंग नहीं बुला सकते. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एक टाइम था जहाँ पे वे प्रोटीन भी एक किस्म का हैक था या मल्टीविटामिन लेना भी एक किस्म का हैक था. मगर as it becomes accepted as a standard part of our system, it's no longer a hack, it's commonplace. So keep that in mind when we are discussing this topic because it's a continuously evolving stream of science and what is a hack today may not be a hack tomorrow. So let's define biohacking first. Biohacking is nothing but introducing some physical or nutritional interventions in your everyday eating or living pattern such that you can push your physiology and your neurology beyond its standard limitations. Let's simplify it. Biohacking एक ऐसी टेक्निक है जिसमें आप अपने बॉडी के नॉर्मल प्रोसेसेस को अपने लिमिट से बियॉन्ड पुश कर सकेंगे टू ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर टू थिंग्स, आइदर longevity or performance. Ultimately, the goal of biohacking is to improve one of two things, either longevity or performance. So let's get into the topic now. Also, like I told you, keep in mind what biohacking is not. It is not simply a nutritional strategy to optimize everyday nutrition. Let's say you're bang on with your protein, with your micronutrients, with your ergogenics. That's not biohacking. Biohacking is a shortcut or a technique which goes way beyond everyday nutritional optimization. All right. So with that, we will look at two approaches to biohack our body. One is the brain approach, one is the body approach. So essentially what it means is that आप या तो अपने physiology को hack कर सकते हैं या आप अपने neurology को hack कर सकते हैं. न्यूरोलॉजी वो है जो आपके माइंड के साथ कनेक्टेड है और फिजियोलॉजी वो है जो आपके रेस्ट ऑफ द बॉडी के साथ कनेक्टेड है. सो अभी हम इसको देखेंगे कि कैसे हम इसको हैक किया जा सकता है. लेट्स टेक अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ इनसाइट फर्स्ट इनटू, लेट्स गेट सम कॉन्टेक्स्ट इनटू आवर फिजियोलॉजी फर्स्ट एंड ऑल्सो इनटू आवर न्यूरोलॉजी और आवर नर्वस सिस्टम. फर्स्ट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द entire structure of our nervous system, and then we will also try and understand the structure of our overall body cells physiology. Now the nervous system is made up of the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system वो है जो आपका body और spinal cord को central nervous system हम कहते हैं. Nervous system का role क्या है? To send messages from your brain to the rest of your body and to relay back sensory messages from the rest of your body back to your brain. जो आपके ब्रेन से जो मैसेजेस ट्रैवल होते हैं बॉडी को, उसको कहते हैं मोटर इम्पल्सेस, और जो इम्पल्सेस या जो सिग्नल्स आपके बॉडी से आपके ब्रेन को वापस ट्रैवल होते हैं उसको कहते हैं सेंसरी इम्पल्सेस और सेंसरी सिग्नल्स. अभी जो आपका नर्वस सिस्टम है ये दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइडेड है. एक है आपका सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम, दूसरा है आपका peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system in turn is made up of the autonomic nervous system or the somatic nervous system. Somatic हमारे काम का नहीं है, हम autonomic nervous system के बारे में deep dive करेंगे. Stay with me, it's a little bit of biochemistry for those folks who want more context, but if it's too heavy for you, feel free to skip forward straight away to the hacking portion of this episode. ओके अभी जो आपका ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम है, इट इज इन टर्न मेड अप ऑफ योर सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम, योर पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम एंड योर एंटेरिक नर्वस सिस्टम. एंटेरिक नर्वस सिस्टम वो है जो आपके गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल ट्रैक्ट को रेगुलेट करता है. सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम वो है जो आपके फाइट और फ्लाइट रिस्पॉन्स को कंट्रोल करता है, और पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम वो है जो कि सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम का ऑपोजिट है, जो आपके रेस्ट और रिलैक्सेशन फेज में किक इन होता है. और ये सारे जो सिस्टम्स हैं इनके अंदर नर्व इंपल्सेस और न्यूरॉन्स मौजूद हैं जो एक दूसरे के साथ कम्युनिकेट करते हैं. ऑलराइट, ये हो गया आपका नर्वस सिस्टम. अभी एक और सिस्टम है जिसके बारे में आपको जानना चाहिए, जिसका नाम है एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम. एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम वो सिस्टम है जो आपके बॉडी के सारे हार्मोन्स को रेगुलेट करता है. अभी जो आपके हार्मोन्स हैं, हार्मोन्स वो हैं, दे आर फॉर्म्स ऑफ केमिकल्स व्हिच आर प्रोड्यूस्ड विद इन द बॉडी, which help in all kinds of functions, right from sex binding hormones to neurotransmitters to a host of other hormones such as stress hormones. Insulin is also a hormone. All of these hormones are produced in the endocrine system. Now the endocrine system is made up of 7 glands which are controlled by something known as a hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the command and control center of the endocrine system. Now what are these 7 parts of the endocrine system? It starts from the top. You have your pineal gland, followed by your pituitary gland, followed by your thyroid gland, followed by your adrenal gland. इसके बारे में आपने सुना होगा. Pancreas. Your women have got something known as ovaries, and men have got the testes. These 7 glands make up what is known as the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is a hormone production system within the body which produces all kinds of hormones which are extremely important to communicate within the body in the form of chemical messengers. and all of these glands are controlled by the hypothalamus. And all of this has got a context. हम क्यों ये सब बायोकेमिस्ट्री के अंदर डीप डाइव कर रहे हैं? क्योंकि ये सब हैकिंग के साथ कनेक्टेड है, और जब तक आपको ये कॉन्टेक्स्ट पूरी तरह समझ नहीं आएगा, आपको हैकिंग का ट्रू मीनिंग नहीं समझ आएगा, and you will misunderstand all small things as being a hack, which it is not. Alright, endocrine system हो गया, आपका nervous system हो गया. अभी लास्ट पार्ट है आपके सेल्स बॉडी के, आपकी फिजियोलॉजी. अभी जो आपके बॉडी के जो बाकी के सेल्स हैं, ये बने हैं, ये बेसिकली हर सेल 3 पार्ट्स का होता है. एक आउटर सेल मेम्ब्रेन होती है, उसके अंदर जो लिक्विड होता है उसको कहते हैं साइटोप्लाज्म, और वो साइटोप्लाज्म के अंदर अलग अलग ऑर्गेनल्स होते हैं. और इनके ये ऑर्गेनल्स के अंदर सबसे 2 इंपॉर्टेंट ऑर्गेनल्स हैं. एक है आपका न्यूक्लियाई या न्यूक्लियस, जिसके अंदर आपके क्रोमोसोम्स और आपका पूरा डीएनए होता है, और दूसरा है आपका माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया, इसको जो आपके सेल्स के एनर्जी पावर हाउसेस कहलाते हैं. यू कैन वॉच सम ऑफ माई अदर एपिसोड वेयर आई हैव डीप डाइव्ड इनटू द माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल एफिशिएंसी, बट नीडलेस टू से दैट दीज आर द 2 मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट ऑर्गेनल्स विद इन योर सेल्स. अभी अगर हमें हैक करना है अपनी बॉडी को, तो इन सिस्टम्स को हमें हैक करना पड़ेगा. जो आपका बॉडी का ऑपरेटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर है वो आपका नर्वस सिस्टम है. योर एंडोक्रिन सिस्टम एंड योर नर्वस सिस्टम टुगेदर इज द ऑपरेटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर विच गवर्न्स योर बॉडी. उसका एक सेट पॉइंट है जिसको कहते हैं होमियोस्टैसिस, और ये सेट पॉइंट के हिसाब से आपकी बॉडी फंक्शन करती है. आप सोचते हैं, आप सोते हैं, आप जागते हैं, आप में उतनी एक लेवल ऑफ एनर्जी होती है, मोटिवेशन होती है, इंटेलिजेंस होती है, आईक्यू, जो कि बहुत लोग समझते हैं कि फिक्स हो गई है एक एज के बियॉन्ड. आपकी इंटेलिजेंस उतनी की उतनी है. जो अभी ग्रोइंग फील्ड ऑफ साइंस में प्रूव हो रहा है कि you can continue to expand your cognition and your intelligence throughout your life by keeping your neurons in top class health. It's a concept known as neuroplasticity. I for one can tell you, if I took an IQ test 20 years ago and if I took an IQ test today, I'm not talking knowledge, I'm talking of IQ, I would fare at least twice better than I would have fared 20 years ago. Anyway, coming back to the topic, हमें अपने बॉडी के सॉफ्टवेयर को हैक करना है या हार्डवेयर को हैक करना है. हार्डवेयर हो गए आपके सेल्स, सॉफ्टवेयर हो गया आपका नर्वस सिस्टम. कैसे हमें इसको हैक करना है? अभी कॉन्टेक्स्ट के लिए आपको थोड़ा सा और पेशेंस रखना पड़ेगा, और हमें अपने बॉडी के हार्मोन्स के अंदर अभी जाना पड़ेगा. तो इस एक ग्रुप ऑफ हार्मोन्स है जिसको कहते हैं न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स. न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स को समझने के लिए पहले आपको न्यूरॉन्स को समझना पड़ेगा. जैसे कि मैंने कहा, आपका नर्वस सिस्टम न्यूरोनिक सेल से बनता है, जैसे कि आपका बाकी का जो बॉडी का हर सिस्टम सेल से बनता है, आपका नर्वस सिस्टम न्यूरॉन से बनता है. न्यूरॉन्स एक स्पेशल किस्म के नर्व सेल्स होते हैं जो एक दूसरे के साथ ज्वाइन होते हैं, और उसमें बायोकेमिकल इंपल्स के थ्रू मैसेजेस रिले होते हैं. इसीलिए नर्वस सिस्टम आपके बॉडी का ऑपरेटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर है, जो आपके ब्रेन से आपके हर बॉडी को, आपके बॉडी के हर पार्ट को कंट्रोल करता है. योर थॉट्स, योर फीलिंग्स, योर सेंसेस, पेन, प्लेजर, मोटिवेशन, memory, cognition, all of this is controlled from the nervous system. अभी ये हो गया आपका, अगर ये आपका नर्वस सिस्टम है, ये नर्वस सिस्टम के जो 2 न्यूरॉन्स हैं, इनमें मैसेजेस कैसे ट्रैवल होते हैं, उसके लिए ये हेल्प लेते हैं एक केमिकल का जिसको कहते हैं न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स. और ये न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स आपकी ब्रेन में भी बनते हैं, हाइपोथैलेमस में, और आपके अलग अलग एंडोक्रिन ग्लैंड्स में भी बनते हैं. नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर दीज न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स. There are many neurotransmitters, but we will go into a few neurotransmitters which make a difference in our life. Because these are the ones which not only make a difference, but these are also presently hackable through specific strategies. The number one neurotransmitter, dopamine. आजकल इसकी बहुत चर्चा हो रही है. हर मार्केटिंग गुरु डोपामिन की बात कर रहा है, इसके बारे में आपने सुना होगा। सेरोटोनिन, नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड, एसिटिल कोलिन, ये मेन न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स है। इनके अलावा आपके पास है ऑक्सीटोसिन, वैसोप्रेसिन, these are the other two neurotransmitters. Okay, now let's get into each one. Dopamine is responsible for reward and pleasure. जब भी आपका डोपामिन ब्रेन में राइज होता है, यू फील गुड, यू फील कि कुछ किया है। एक छोटा सा टास्क अगर आप कंप्लीट करेंगे, आपका डोपामिन जुप करके सर्ज होगा, यू विल फील नाइस, यू विल फील लेट्स गो नेक्स्ट। सेरोटोनिन, ये एक ऐसा न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर है जो आपको एक फीलिंग ऑफ हैप्पीनेस, स्टेबिलिटी, कामनेस देता है। इट्स इवन रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर स्लीप। थर्ड, नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड, एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी एंड इंप्रूव्स ब्लड फ्लो एंड वेसोडाइलेशन। हमें आपको जो नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड की जानकारी होगी मस्ट बी लिमिटेड primarily to muscle building and blood flow and dilation of blood vessels. Fine, that is true, but it is also a neurotransmitter produced in the brain, and it exists in the synapse between two neurons. Synapse is the gap between two neurons. और वहाँ पे नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट मोटिव है जो आपके ब्लड फ्लो और एक्सिन्स आर द कनेक्टर्स बिटवीन टू न्यूरॉन्स, आर कनेक्टेड बाय अ स्ट्रैंड नोन एज एन एक्सिन। जैसे एक आपके पास एक जैसे शूलेस होती है, शूलेस के एंड में एक कैप होता है, वो उस शूलेस को फ्रे करने से प्रिवेंट करता है। सिमिलरली जो एक्सिन है, ये वो शूलेस है जो आपके दो न्यूरॉन्स को कनेक्ट करता है, और ये एक्सिन के अराउंड एक फॉस्फोलिपिड की कोटिंग होती है जो आपके शूलेस के एंड पे जैसे एक प्लास्टिक कैप होती है जो आपके शूलेस को फ्रेम करने से रुकती है, वो माइलिन शीथ होती है। और ये माइलिन शीथ बनती है एसिटिल कोलिन की। इसीलिए एसिटिल कोलिन, विच इज ऑल्सो अ न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर, इज एन एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर मेड अप ऑफ फॉस्फोलिपिड्स which will help in preventing the fraying of your axons, which are the connectors between two neurons. So acetylcholine is an excitatory neurotransmitter which plays an important role in both muscle contractions, in the connector between two neurons, and a host of other neurotransmission functions. So we've done dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, nitric oxide, oxytocin. Now oxytocin is a neurotransmitter again produced in the hypothalamus and in other parts of the brain, including the brainstem, which plays an important role in feelings of attraction. It's responsible for reproduction in humans, responsible in the sense it evokes a desire for attraction to another person, and it's also an excitatory hormone, and so on and so forth. And lastly, we have something which is an anti-excitatory hormone, which is known as GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, an important anti-excitatory neurotransmitter, which is again plays a role in cell signaling and neuronic signaling. So now that we know all of these neurotransmitters, we need to then move into strategies for hacking. जैसे मैंने कहा, अच्छा एक पॉइंट और, before we move on to the hacking techniques, we also need to pay attention to a specific group of neurotransmitters which are known as catecholamines. Now catecholamines get their name from basically their molecular structure. So there are three catecholamines, all of them have a similar molecular structure, which is that they are monoamine neurotransmitters. These monoamine neurotransmitters are dopamine, norepinephrine and epinephrine. Okay? Special attention to these three because these are three of the most hackable neurotransmitters. Let's get a little deep into the catecholamines. which is your dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. Now these are produced in the adrenals, which I told you are above the pancreas, and they've got a set pathway. Starts with a simple amino acid known as phenylalanine, converted to tyrosine. Phenylalanine is converted to tyrosine. Tyrosine is converted to L-dopa. L-dopa is converted to dopamine. Dopamine is converted to norepinephrine, and norepinephrine is converted to epinephrine. So this is the normal fate of phenylalanine metabolism. Okay, it's a 6-step process: phenylalanine to tyrosine, tyrosine to L-dopa, L-dopa to dopamine, dopamine to norepinephrine, norepinephrine to epinephrine. And all of these have their own unique cofactors which convert each step to the other. For example, L-dopa to dopamine requires the cofactor known as vitamin B6, and hence in a lot of bioenergetic formulations you will find B6 concentrations are enhanced. B6 as in pyridoxal phosphate, अगर आप अपने label पे देखेंगे, that is B6. Dopamine to norepinephrine is the catalyst over there, is the cofactor is vitamin C or good old ascorbic acid. So keep that in mind, because like I said, dopamine is one of the most hackable neurotransmitters, which is responsible for pleasure and reward, makes you feel good, and a lot of people are after a dopamine spike or a dopamine hit, as they call it. So that is your dopamine's physiology. Epinephrine is the fight or flight hormone, or the other name for epinephrine is adrenaline. So we all hear that adrenaline rush, that is an epinephrine rush. And there are specific ways in which you can pump up the epinephrine rush, and that's another parameter to keep in mind. Norepinephrine is of course got a different purpose, which is for controlling your blood pressure and heart rate. Okay, so just to summarize, so far we've defined what is biohacking. We've explained that how biohacking is an evolving concept. What is a biohack today may not be called a biohack tomorrow, it may just be commonplace. We have defined that you can hack 2 types of systems in the body, either the physiological system or the neurological system. For context laying, we have studied the biochemistry of neurology. So we've looked at the nervous systems and the parts of the nervous system. You have a central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is everything else which is made up of nerves. We've looked at the endocrine system, which runs in parallel to your nervous system. The endocrine system is a system of glands which produce hormones, and how the hormones and the neurotransmitters produced by the endocrine system work in tandem with the nervous system to facilitate all of your all of your body's natural processes and messages. And we've looked at neurotransmitters, we look at catecholamines, and we've brought it all together into. So I think we've got enough context now to dive into hacking. Now, hacking can be achieved, or rather let me put it this way: hacking for longevity or hacking for peak performance. There are 2 types of hacking. When you're looking at hacking for longevity, you're primarily going to look at cell preservation, because longevity is nothing but cell preservation. आपके cells young रहते हैं. The normal process of aging of cells को आप decelerate, reduce या stop कर सकते हैं. Obviously stop नहीं कर सकते. That's a myth. There is no such thing as you can live forever, and all those marketing slogans which you'll find people talking about, this guy says he's going to live forever and blah blah blah, is obviously a bunch of bull. But you can slow down your body's natural aging processes if you know what is causing that aging. So that is one type of biohacking, and then you have the other kind of biohacking, which is peak performance. In peak performance, you will work with those systems which can help you think better or physically perform better. And physically perform better would mean a combination of strength, agility and energy. Energy being the prime lever you can leverage to achieve biohacking. So let's look at what are the strategies for this. Now, when you're looking at mind hacking or mental hacking, what are the things you can do? What are the things you can do? Or let's make it this way. We spoke about longevity. When you are looking at cellular hacking, okay, when you're looking at cellular hacking, what are the things you can do? One is fasting. When you fast, you're giving your cells a chance to rejuvenate. Because what happens in fasting is that आप जब भी 16 घंटा या 20 घंटा तक फास्ट करते हैं, उसके बाद एक बॉडी के अंदर एक ऑटोमेटिक प्रोसेस सेट हो जाता है जिसका नाम है ऑटोफेजी. ऑटोफेजी एक प्रोसेस है जहाँ पे आपकी बॉडी की नेचुरल प्रोग्रामिंग है और वो अपने आपके सेल्स के अंदर के जो डेड मटेरियल्स या टॉक्सिक मटेरियल्स या बाय प्रोडक्ट्स को फ्लश आउट करता है. तो जैसे कि आपने मेरे दूसरे पॉडकास्ट में सुना होगा अबाउट लेप्टिन ग्रेलिन और अबाउट फीस्टिंग एंड फास्टिंग, एक 15-16 घंटा से जल्दी तो वैसे भी आदमी को खाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है अगर आप करेक्ट किस्म की डाइट खा रहे हैं जो कि फैटी प्रोटीन डाइट होती है. मगर एक बार आपका 15-16 घंटा का फास्ट हो गया तो आपकी ऑटोफेजी बॉडी के सेल्स में नेचुरली किक इन हो जाएगी बिकॉज इंसुलिन लेवल्स लो रहेगा, इन्फ्लेमेशन लो रहेगा और बॉडी की क्लीन अप प्रोसेस शुरू हो जाएगी. और इस क्लीन अप प्रोसेस में आपके जो टॉक्सिक बाई प्रोडक्ट्स और डेड रॉ मटेरियल्स होंगे वो स्कैवेंजिंग होना शुरू हो जाएंगे. सो हैक नंबर 1 फॉर लॉन्जेविटी इज फास्टिंग. हैक नंबर 2 फॉर लॉन्जेविटी इज कीपिंग इन्फ्लेमेशन डाउन through eating in a certain way. Okay, I'm just going to pull up some notes here. Okay, so you have cell health, which means you keep your inflammation low, keep your insulin low. You can look at autophagy, which I've already addressed, or you can look at microbiome preservation. अभी जो आपकी बॉडी के पूरा का पूरा गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल सिस्टम है उसके अंदर आपका माइक्रोबायोम रहता है और माइक्रोबायोम is a kind of a universe in itself. It is made up of billions of bacteria which are good in nature. We are good bacteria. They help you digest your food in tandem with your normal digestion process. They break down complex components into simple components which are then absorbed by your body. If your microbiome, your cellular byproducts, waste toxic byproducts and your cell structure is kept intact through strategies such as fasting and eating low inflammatory foods, low sugar foods and low carb foods, you are going to preserve cells. And essentially when you preserve cells, what you are preserving are the DNA of your cell. आप अपने सेल का डीएनए प्रिजर्व कर रहे हैं. अभी आ जाते हैं एनर्जी बूस्टिंग स्ट्रैटेजीज पे. आपकी एनर्जी बूस्टिंग स्ट्रैटेजीज में आपकी नंबर 1 स्ट्रैटेजी है कार्ब एलिमिनेशन एंड शुगर एलिमिनेशन एंड मूव टू अ फैटी प्रोटीन डाइट सो दैट योर बॉडी इज फ्यूल्ड बाय कीटोन्स. आपकी बॉडी के सारे एरोबिक सिस्टम्स कीटोन से फ्यूल होंगे. और तीसरी स्ट्रैटेजी है आपकी कार्निटीन सप्लीमेंटेशन, क्योंकि कार्निटीन सप्लीमेंटेशन में आपकी फैटी प्रोटीन डाइट और भी एक्सेंचुएट होगी because carnitine is the main cofactor which shuttles fatty acids into mitochondria to be burnt as energy. Now let's come at brain hacking techniques. How can we achieve peak performance through intellectual optimization? For this you will have to deploy something known as nootropics. Nootropics are specialized substances which improve any of those points which I made earlier around neurotransmitters or any part of your endocrine system or any part of your nervous system. if I can boost neurotransmission, or if I can manipulate neurotransmission, I can hack my mind. So, if I've got a set point for dopamine production, if I can either improve the frequency, increase the frequency, or increase the duration of the dopamine hit, I can hack my physiology. And for that you have nutritional interventions in the form of nootropics. One of the simplest food based nootropic I know of are MCTs. जब भी आप MCTs खाते हैं तो जो आपके बॉडी का नॉर्मल फैट मेटाबॉलिज्म पाथवे है वो सर्कमवेंट होके directly MCTs are converted to ketones in the liver. Yes, some of them are also converted to fatty acids, but at least a good portion of them are converted to instantaneous ketones. And these ketones are an excellent source of fuel for your brain. So, number one hack would be add MCTs to your daily routine. Number two hack, make your protein work harder. What happens in protein metabolism is that जब भी आप प्रोटीन खाते हैं, क्योंकि आजकल ज़्यादातर मैक्सिमम लोग लो कार्ब डाइट पे होते हैं, तो जब भी आप लो कार्ब डाइट पे प्रोटीन खाते हैं आपकी बॉडी हमेशा ग्लूकोज ढूंढती रहती है, क्योंकि जब तक आप एक कीटोजेनिक एथलीट नहीं बनते आपकी बॉडी हमेशा ग्लूकोज ही ढूंढेगी एनर्जी के लिए, नॉट फैटी एसिड्स. तो जब भी आप प्रोटीन खाते हैं एक प्रोसेस जिसको कहते हैं ग्लूकोनियोजेनेसिस किक इन होता है, जिससे आपका प्रोटीन का एनीवेयर फ्रॉम 30-40% ऑफ प्रोटीन इज कन्वर्टेड टू ग्लूकोज इंस्टेंटेनियसली, क्योंकि आप लो कार्ब डाइट पे हैं. और 60-70% प्रोटीन ही आपके मसल प्रोटीन सिंथेसिस में जाएगा. तो इसकी स्ट्रैटेजी ये है कि अगर आप अपने प्रोटीन को MCTs के साथ ले हमेशा, तो आपका जो ग्लूकोनियोजेनेसिस की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी आपकी बॉडी को. इमीडिएटली वो जो कीटोन्स उसको अवेलेबल करवा दोगे आप MCTs के थ्रू, उसको वो एनर्जी की तरफ लेके जाएगा और आपका प्रोटीन पूरा का पूरा मसल प्रोटीन सिंथेसिस की तरफ जाएगा थ्रू अ पाथवे नोन एज द mTOR पाथवे. दैट्स योर सेकंड हैक. थर्ड हैक, add leucine to whey. Now leucine so like I said, every protein amino acids का बनता है और वो अमीनो एसिड्स 22 अमीनो एसिड्स होते हैं जो एक प्रोटीन को बनाते हैं. दे आर डिवाइडेड इनटू एसेंशियल एंड नॉन एसेंशियल. अंडर एसेंशियल देयर आर फर्दर 3 अमीनो एसिड्स व्हिच आर सुपर एसेंशियल, व्हिच आर नोन एज ब्रांच चेन अमीनो एसिड्स. अभी ये ब्रांच चेन अमीनो एसिड्स में सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी अमीनो एसिड है जिसका नाम है लूसीन. क्यों? क्योंकि लूसीन is the key cofactor in the mTOR pathway. The mTOR pathway is your muscle protein synthesis pathway. mTOR stands for mammalian target of rapamycin. rapamycin की भी बहुत चर्चा हो रही है आज की तारीख में longevity वर्ल्ड में. सो ये जो mTOR pathway है इसका की कैटलिस्ट है leucine. अगर, and there is plenty of clinical evidence around this. In fact, we make a product at New Life where we have boosted the whey protein with leucine, and we cited the studies which we relied upon. These are proven RCT clinical studies wherein adding leucine to whey is far superior muscle protein synthesis than whey alone. So that's your third hack. What else do we have? We've covered energy boosting strategies around carnitine and fatty protein diets. We've covered protein boosting strategies wherein we add MCTs to whey or leucine to whey or both. We've looked at cell preservation, which is more around longevity and maximizing health span. So minimal diseases through keeping inflammation down, keeping insulin down, and therefore cell preservation. Now that covers our nutritional interventions whereas biohacking is concerned. We can also look at a couple of solutions around physical and psychological interventions. Physical interventions. So you must be hearing about solutions around ice baths and something known as red light therapy. Again, completely unproven, no clinical evidence whatsoever. I wouldn't call it a fad, but there is no clinical evidence even around ice baths. Ice baths also don't have any clinical evidence or any sort of scientific evidence that they work. All that the proponents of ice baths claim is that it has a thermic reaction in the body, or an exothermic reaction where the body's temperature goes up, parallelly causing a process known as vasoconstriction, wherein your blood vessels actually contract, and they claim this leads to a reduction in inflammation. Again, not proven. Similarly, red light therapy baths, not proven. You may call them a fad if you have to, but they are not proven at all. However, there are some physical interventions which you can do, and these are related to exercise. Now, there is a metric known as the VO2 max, for which I've done an exhaustive podcast and you must see it, which is your body's maximum oxygen carrying capacity. आप जब भी ब्रीथ करते हैं आप ऑक्सीजन अंदर लेते हैं और ऑक्सीजन आपके ब्लड के थ्रू आपके वर्किंग मसल्स और अलग अलग बॉडी पार्ट्स में पहुंचता है. और ये टाइप की ट्रेनिंग जिसको VO2 मैक्स ट्रेनिंग कहते हैं, इट्स वन ऑफ द मोस्ट प्रोवन and strongly correlated factors with longevity. So if you're looking at maximizing health span and longevity, VO2 max training can be an amazing tool. How to maximize VO2 max, there is a variety of techniques. You can take a look at my other podcast where I've gone deep into this topic. There is also another form of exercise which I would consider a hack if you have to, but it's called high intensity interval training, or HIIT, very common nowadays. So by that definition, it's actually not a hack, but extremely beneficial in flushing out byproducts, toxic products from the body cells, pushes up VO2 max, pushes up anaerobic capacity and aerobic capacity, burns a ton of calories, and very good for your cardiorespiratory and cardiopulmonary system. Two very effective strategies. Then you have sleep maximization, and of course you can't call this a hack, but super important to get your full 6, 8, 10 hours of sleep, depending on your own body's set point, is excessively important to maximize health span and preserve longevity. This takes care of some strategies for physical interventions, whereas biohacking is concerned. And then of course you have your psychological interventions. Now, one of the ways you can get a dopamine hit is by simply completing a task. So let's say you write down 5 tasks on a to-do list, and the action of completing a task, when I complete this podcast and I have a tick mark on that paper, I will get a dopamine hit, and it's been proven through MRI scans. The minute the mind is told that it's completed a task, it's like a reward. You can actually utilize this in your day-to-day life, wherein you make lists of things you have to do, and the very action of check marking a task gives you a dopamine hit. Then of course you have spirituality or meditation, extremely proven psychosomatic method of biohacking, wherein going deep within and actually visualizing stuff, observing breathing, being more present, being more aware, is a hack with which all your body's other systems will fall in balance. It's been proven now scientifically that having deep, meaningful connections with people, having a circle of close people, and having deep connections with them will also give you an extreme sense of fulfillment and make all your body's other systems fire in harmony. So these are some psychological hacks you can use to actually maximize your work output or your performance. There is also something known as goal setting, very common, but the very action of creating short-term and long-term goals, and then actually, as you near that goal and complete it, that's a huge energy booster. Something as basic as that is also something which can play a very large role in helping you achieve your goals, in helping you actually hack your physiology. So I think I've kind of given you a bit of insight into the world of biohacking. There is, as mysterious as it may sound, there's actually, this is what there is to it. You know, you have your body's software and your hardware, and you can hack one of these or both of these. And in order to hack it, you can either, you know, play around with any of these neurotransmitters or any of your cellular components and metabolic energy systems. There is really nothing more to it. You have these gurus nowadays who will, you know, give you a feeling as if there is something very, very mysterious and something which they know which others don't. For example, now before I wrap this up, I just want to touch on the topic of psychedelics and nootropics. See, when biohacking first came in, it was all about the mind. It was not about the body. If you can hack your mind, it's your software, it's your CPU, you know, it's the chip which you're going to hack. And how do you hack that? Is essentially by making it smarter, more cognition, more intelligence, more focus, more memory, right? So that's when the world of nootropics came in. And I gave you an insight into some of the best nootropics. I spoke about MCTs, choline. I will also touch upon two drug-based ingredients. One is an ingredient known as Modafinil, available in India, not allowed off-label in the US, but available in India. And Modafinil is clinically proven to boost both dopamine and serotonin at the same time. It's often used to cure ADHD and to cure people who are passive and suffer from drowsiness, laziness and other issues, which are medical in nature, of course. And Modafinil is a highly effective drug. It's not a food supplement, which is proven to boost dopamine and serotonin. Works very well. However, it's not a legal food supplement anywhere in the world. And you have its counterpart, which is a slightly modified form of Modafinil, which is known as Aderoll. Again, extremely popular in the US amongst especially college students and students in general, even work executives. Helps to eliminate ADHD, which is very rampant today in today's device-enabled world, where everybody is hooked on to their devices and the mind is just, you know, just darting from here to there without being able to focus on one thing at a time. So you have Aderoll and Modafinil, which are off-label drugs. And then of course you have the psychedelics, which are again forms of conscious altering substances. And I don't want to go there because that's a completely different domain. But all of these nootropics, psychedelics and ADHD drugs together constitute what really was the core of biohacking. So I'll leave you with that thought, and hopefully you like this episode. Do leave your comments in the section below if you have any queries or feedback for me. Also guys, I'm told that YouTube ranks channels which have high subscriber base well. So please hit the subscribe link in the section below so that I can continue putting out you know, good quality content for you. And thank you for watching. Namaste.